Hey everyone, Summer with Astarius, and I wanted to do a tag. It's called Dating My Tarot Decks. Or yeah, Dating My Tarot Decks. It is from Cortney from Aries Witchcraft. It's there was a Dating Your Tarot Decks tag that went around a couple years ago. This one is not the same, I promise. Completely different. Actually. And really fun. So you're gonna see that in just a minute. I have 10 decks because Courtney had 10 decks. She didn't show any cards, but I'm going to because I feel like the cards are gonna tell the story, and I'm so excited to do this. You have no idea. Like this, I spent so much time dealing with this. Like it just seemed like so much fun, and I had so much fun creatively, like creating this dating of my decks. So the whole idea is that you take the decks that you want to share, right? And you act like they're a person. What is their personality like? How did you meet that deck? You know, how did it turn out? That kind of thing. So that seemed really, really fun. So that's what we're doing. And again, I hope you guys give this a try. I would love to see more people do this because there is so much fun potential for showing some tarot decks. I have some new decks that US Games had originally sent me over the last few months, and then I have some old decks mixed in too. So I'm kind of showing you new with old, and I'm hoping that this will be really fun for everybody. So let's start off with dating the tarot. So first up is the old style tarot. Now let me tell you about this man, okay? Old style tarot. He is so much fun, and if you thought chivalry was dead, I'm here to tell you, if you meet him, it is not. I went to a party with a friend, and that's how I met him. He was having just a good old time. I was dancing with my friend. He approached me. He asked me to dance. He was really good at dancing even, which of course, most girls like it when a guy's good at dancing. He kind of swept me off my feet. But he had his own little way about him. He was very egotistical. He liked to talk a lot about himself. Which was okay in the beginning, and then I realized he was much more in it for an adventure rather than for long term. But it was fun while it lasted. All right, the next guy I dated is Woodland Fairy Tale Tarot. So super sweet, okay? This man is so adorable. Basically, we met by accident. Totally by accident. I was in one of these places where like you try new things and stuff like that. Well, while I was getting out all the stuff to participate in this try new things kind of situation, I passed out and he was there. He came over to check on me, see how I was doing, and he had the prettiest eyes, I'm telling you what. And that man could tell a story. He is so great at storytelling. I was like completely in awe of the stories he was telling. And he just had a way about it too. Like he could create these magnificent tales right off the top of his head, which was fantastic. But then I also found out he was quite the adventurer. He really enjoyed going and trying out new things, and I thought that was really amazing, but I'm a homebody and I like to stay at home, so I bid him farewell and hoped that he would find somebody more to meet his needs. The next one that I dated is the Catacorn Tarot. Again, found a super sweet person, but in an unexpected place, okay? I went graveyard hopping with a friend. Now, when I say graveyard hopping, what I mean is going to the graveyard and doing a spooky little story, and then going to another graveyard and doing a spooky little story. It's not like we're in and out on people's graves or doing anything bad. However, I did meet this man at one of these grave hopping incidents between me and a friend, and I couldn't find my friend. instead I found him. I don't remember exactly what she was doing, but we got split up somehow, and I ran into this very interesting fellow. At first I was a little afraid, because when you meet a guy at a graveyard as a female, it's a little, maybe not so much. But he was such a goofball. He just showed off for me. He had all sorts of things to show me he's super cute. He did all of these funny things to set me at ease, helping me find my friend. And we had a good time together. Completely and utterly good time together. This is the kind of man that can make me laugh, which I love in a man. I absolutely love in a man, and he was great at cuddling, but a little more of a pushover than what I generally like. And I found myself walking over the top of him, and that's not great for a relationship. So we kind of parted ways as friends. Don't worry, we do still talk on occasion. The next guy I met was at a carnival. So Tarot of the Moon Garden. He was so interesting. I had gone to the carnival by myself, okay? Gone to the carnival by myself. I don't generally like going places by myself. And while I was there, I saw this guy. He was just practicing magic. I thought it was really cool. And at first I thought it was, just gimmicky magic. And then he turned into this guy. He just, right in front of the whole crowd, didn't even care, just did his magical trick, and poof, there he was hanging from, the tree. And I was flabbergasted, seriously flabbergasted. How did he do this? So we ended up in a really interesting conversation about how his magic worked and if it was a trick or not. Of course, he didn't reveal any of his secrets. However, we did go back to his place for a little one-night fun. Of course, he's with the carnivals. That was never going to last, by the way. Okay, the next guy I met, totally outside of my norm, completely and utterly. The Mind's Eye Tarot. Okay, so here's the thing. I kind of like poetry, and I kind of like art. And I just kind of wandered into an old part of town, and it was this little weird shop. It, wasn't anything big. It wasn't anything elaborate. I don't even think many people knew about it, but it seemed kind of interesting on the outside. It had interesting art hanging up. It had darker lights, and there was people inside. And I'm like, what is this? So I go in, and it's, this little art party kind of thing. And I didn't feel at ease at all there. I felt kind of out of character. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave, but this guy, he just came over to me, and he started talking to me about art and including me in conversations. I don't know if he just knew that I was uncomfortable or just found it interesting that some random person walked in on their party. But he did engage in some conversation with me. We had a really good time, but I quickly learned throughout the week that he was a very eccentric kind of man, very into high arts, very into he's kind of like one of those people that go to those art shops and they do the click things or whatnot, and it kind of felt like he was wearing a mask to me. Anyways, I ended up catching him in bed with another woman, so that didn't last long. Probably because I wasn't his type. Not really. All right, so the next guy I met, man, totally lifted my self-esteem. Let me tell you what. He was so smooth. So smooth. And man, dang, was he attractive. It was the Dark Tarot Louis Royal. I was just minding my own business, okay? I wasn't interested in getting into another relationship. I was in a relationship with my books, okay? Enjoying some dragon fun time in my head at the library, and just happened to look up, and here is this guy staring at me. Can you believe it? He was just staring at me. Of course, I had to ask him if he needed something. Maybe I had the book he wanted or something. No, that was not the case. We ended up in a very heavy conversation about literature. We got into Gothic literature quite a bit. I took Gothic lit in college, so we had plenty to talk about, hit it off really well, and you can tell there was some serious chemistry between us. And he said that he knew of an underground place to go check out, supposedly where some Gothic stuff had happened. So of course I follow him through this super secret place that I just met this guy. But come on, he was smooth, he was hot, he was very nice. I was feeling it. I didn't get any creepy vibes at all, and I had one of the best nights of my life. And then I never heard from him again, unfortunately. I think he moved. But I don't know. We didn't exchange phone numbers. Les sigh. All right, the next guy I met, so I was actually moving. I was moving into a different place, and I had to hail down a cab. He ended up being my driver. He came out along to pick me up, and we got into some great conversations in the car, okay? Terrific conversations in the car. I found out that, despite the fact that he was a driver, that he was actually pretty well off. I didn't know much more about him. He didn't really tell me where he came from or anything like that. Kind of set off some red flags, but I'd only been with him for a few days before, he started giving me gifts and stuff. So sure, why not, right? So I get settled into my place. He doesn't move in with me. I did not move in with him. Okay, that is not what happened. But we did spend several weeks together, kind of, hitting it off and talking about family and talking about maybe getting a little bit more serious, until I found out he was a thief. Because I saw it on the news. I saw him as a wanted man on the news, and I'm a good person. And despite the fact that I didn't want to, I turned him in. I did. I turned him in, and now he's in jail. And I feel bad in some ways, but at the same time, you shouldn't steal from other people. They worked really hard for their stuff, and I had to give my jewelry back. I had to give my stuff back. That's ick feelings, Just not a good thing in a guy. All right, so then, I don't know what happened. Honestly, cannot remember how I ended up in a tree. Okay, I did. I ended up in a tree, and I met the Fairy Lights Tarot. I was in a tree. I was getting ready to fall out of the tree. I wish I knew how I gotten up there. I don't know if I drank too much. I don't really know what I freaking did. But I remember this tree, and I'm hanging from it, and I didn't know what I was going to do because the ground seemed really far away, and I am terrified of freaking heights. So I am screaming at the top of my lungs, hoping anybody will hear me and come save me because I don't want to fall out of this tree. I am bawling like a baby, okay? And this guy just swoops in. He was a firefighter, I'm pretty sure. He came in, he climbed up that tree, he picked me up, he got me down from that tree. Oh man, we had a fantastic time. Then he took me out. He took me to his super secret spot. And it was so gorgeous, okay? It had all of these I would say fairy lights, really, but they were just, the bugs that glow, the glow bugs. And I mean, it was so beautiful at night there, all these different little glow bugs, and I got to watch them float up and float down and float up and float down. We had a really amazing night. I mean, he timed me, he wined me, we enjoyed some cuddle time, if you know what I mean. Unfortunately, I woke up before I could orgasm, so, there's that. Dream men, you know how they are. All right, last and the absolute best one, in my personal opinion, and you're gonna find out why in a minute, is the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot. So I met him in college. We were taking a class together. He did pottery, and I was doing writing, and we actually met in kickboxing class. Does this sound familiar to anybody yet? Some of my closer friends know. So anyways, kickboxing class. We hit it off. We had some good times. And he had a couple dogs. He was just out of the military. He had these two Dobermans that were half-breeds that he had gotten right after he got out of the military, and he was raising them. They were so smart, so we used to take them to the dog park all the time. We used to walk these dogs, and that's how we got to know each other, is by walking the dogs. And these dogs were super smart. One of them even like jumped out of his harness once, and we had to run after him. Absolutely run after him. He had a wild time at the park before he came back. Unfortunately, he did teach his brother how to do the exact same thing, so we ended up chasing two dogs. And then, you know, life happened to us. We continued dating. We were together for many, many, many years. And I mean, our foundations crumbled around each other, and we built things back up. We moved in with each other. We've spent 15 years with each other, and we got married 2 years ago. So this is my one and only love. Mwah. My husband, currently, true husband. He's also the one who got me this deck. So yes, this was so much fun. Thank you so much, Cortney, for creating this tag, because I had an absolute blast. So, what do you guys think? I hope you enjoyed it. If you do it, please let me know you did it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a very great day.